Welcome back, class. In this lesson, we will talk about success and identify the ways we measure success. Additionally, we'll determine where we are through a self-assessment. Finally, we'll discuss ways to create a meaningful journal as we reflect on the topics discussed in this class. So let's begin. Although we call this class EDUC 1300 or Learning Frameworks, we more commonly refer to this course and its content as a college success course. However, before we can talk about what one needs to be successful in college and life, we must first be able to understand what success means to us. According to the Oxford Dictionary, success is defined as the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. And additionally, success is defined as the attainment of popularity or profit. So which one of these definitions is correct? Well, that depends on your definition of success. When we talk about success, we need to realize that there are two types of success, inner and outer success. So before you can determine what success means to you, you must first decide if you focus on inner or outer success. When we refer to outer success, we're talking about those things that are public, visible achievements. These items allow the world to judge one's ability and worth by the material goods we display. So if we define success by looking outward, we look for the visible clues, such as a nice house, an expensive car, stylish clothes, popularity or fame, and other items to determine if someone is successful. Furthermore, we often feel that we must also possess those types of items to be successful in our own lives. However, others view success by looking inward. When we talk about inner success, we're allowing ourselves to follow our own personal interests, and we tend to focus on our own personal values that allow us to create a fulfilling life. Therefore, when a person looks inwardly, in regards to success, he or she looks at those private, invisible victories that offer a deep sense of personal contentment. In other words, inner success is how we feel about what we've accomplished. So you may be asking yourself, which is better, inner or outer success? In my opinion, I believe that success must occur both in the visible world and in the invisible spaces within our minds and hearts. Sure, it's nice to have the nice things that demonstrate success, but all of the stuff is no good if we can't find peace and contentment in our lives. So regardless of where your main focus lies in regards to success, I think we have to have a mixture of both to truly look and feel successful. Therefore, for this course, we will define success as staying on course to our desired outcomes and experiences. Whether we choose to work towards outer successes, inward successes, or both, we need to realize that the main ingredient in all success is wise choices. Furthermore, the quality of our lives or our success is determined by the quality of our choices and the choices we make on a daily basis. Once you choose a positive belief or an effective behavior, you usually find yourself in a cycle of success. Positive beliefs lead to effective behaviors lead to success, and success reinforces positive beliefs. Now that we understand what success is and we've defined how we will measure success for the purposes of this class, we need to consider where each of us are in regards to success. Therefore, I'm asking each of you to take some time to assess yourself with the provided assessment. Why are we doing this? And what's the purpose in taking the on-course self-assessment? Simply put, by taking this assessment, you will better understand your strengths and weaknesses as it relates to the 8 choices of successful students. Those choices include accepting personal responsibility, discovering self-motivation, mastering self-management, employing interdependence, gaining self-awareness, adopting lifelong learning, developing an emotional intelligence, and learning to believe in yourself. Don't worry if you don't know what some of these terms mean. We will talk about these areas throughout this course and it will make more sense. However, it's important for you to at least examine where you are now before we begin talking about these topics. So you may be asking, what is the value of this knowledge? Simply put, as you develop the choices of successful students, you will make wiser choices and thus achieve more of your desired outcomes and experiences, therefore moving toward success in college and in life. After you complete the self-assessment, you will then need to write about your assessment results through journaling. Throughout this course, we'll do a lot of self-reflection over the material we cover in class. In other words, journaling is an important step in developing success in that it allows you to reflect on where you are now and compare it to where you want to be. So we also need to discuss how to create a meaningful journal. Your textbook identifies 5 steps you should follow to create a meaningful journal. Therefore, for each journal in this class, you will be asked to follow these 5 steps. First, copy the directions for each step into your journal. Then respond to each question or direction. When we talk about the directions, I'm only referring to the text in bold print. I do not expect you to rewrite each portion of the journal's directions, but I do need to know what you're responding to as you reflect. Also, this step is helpful if you decide to look back later to review where you were compared to where you are now. So the first step in creating a meaningful journal is to copy the directions in bold text. Secondly, be spontaneous. Unlike essays, journaling is not meant to be polished. As you journal, you need to say whatever comes to mind when you think about the topic being discussed. So when you're presented with a question in a journal, write about the first thing that comes to mind. Third, be honest as you write. When I read these journals, I want to see where you need development and also understand your current situation. So use this journal to discuss any challenges you may be facing. These journals are private, and the only person reading them besides you is me, and that is only for grading purposes. I promise that I will not share your journal with your classmates, and anything you say will remain confidential. However, if I see a real struggle, I may recommend help from other professionals on campus. But before I recommend help, I will discuss the matter with you privately. So, as you write your journal, be honest and be open. Fourth, be creative. As you write your journal, don't tell me what you think I want to hear. If you have an interesting story that relates to the topic being discussed, share it with me. Finally, dive deep. What do I mean by this? Simply put, when you're journaling, I want you to answer each question thoroughly. A sentence or two doesn't really give me background into your situation or beliefs, nor does it adequately respond to the questions in the journal. So make sure you take some time and adequately cover the material as you respond. That concludes the information for this section. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye for now.